never heard a record. There were no records. So what we used to do in Queens is get them tapes of y'all throwing down up there. And that's how we learned about hip-hop music, man. And then just from there, it escalated, man. It's just been going on and on and on. And how long you been doing your thing now? For a long time?
I've been doing this for over 20 years, actually. You know, I am one of the people who actually was experimenting with this and helping to make it what it is.
Let me ask you a question. How did you guys come up with the mixes that you used at the time? Because at this time, you have mixes that you created, which the Flash Former from Gemini and all that going on. Get this right here. This is Grandmaster Flash's creation. The Flash Former will give you that transform effect when you do that. But at earlier days, you didn't have that, man. There were no real mixes, man. You had like big giant things with tubes in them. Like knobs.
Well, actually, the first particular mixer that I had was by Sony. It was a Sony MX-8. It was an 8-channel mic mixer. And what I had to do is build an external cueing system. So what I did is I went to Radio Shack and bought what's called a single pole double throw switch, whereas in the center it would be off. When you clicked it to the left, you pre-heard the left turntable, and when you double clicked it over to the right, you pre-heard the other one. And what I did is I crazy glued it to the top of the mixer, and then what I did was I wired between the switches an external amplifier that pushed about 5 or 6 watts, just enough wattage to drive a headphone. This enabled me to pre-hear what it was that I was doing. And the mixers of that time didn't have crossfaders, so I was actually doing it with an up and down sort of mixer. So I took a mic mixer and just totally converted it.
That's L. That's the illest story I ever heard in my life, man.
I heard in my life.
In my life, man.
It's
crazy glue.
Together, all that.
And it probably was the only one, you're probably the only one that had a queuing system.
For a while.
Yep.
That's L, so he's like, well, I can't even talk about that no more. So
you had the benefit of queuing the records up before and hearing them, while other guys just had to just do it on a feel and a look.
Right.
And then you're talking about records that weren't even made this way, where at least they're made for DJing. At that time, they just had old 45s and big albums that you know were using. And the albums were extra thick, so you couldn't slip fade them back and forth like this.
That's when I had to actually, you know, create what I call the clock theory. And the clock theory was where I would mark the record in a certain section. So, for instance, if the name of the record was called, let's just call
Groove to Get Down. Remember that one?
Groove to Get Down. So what I would do is, Groove to Get Down was on TK Records. So what I would do is, of course, the name of the record label was at the top center. So if TK, the name of the label, was the T was on the left side, I would mark it right where the area of the break would begin. I would mark it on both sides so that I would actually know.
Like this, with an arrow on it like that.
It's called the clock theory. Yeah. Where you would know, like I would put it 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 11:45, 6 o'clock. This was like a theory that I had come up with so that I could actually pre-know, because the particular breaks that I was cutting back in them days were maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. You know, some were fortunate enough to be maybe a minute long. But with that there, I had to figure out a way to wind the record back a certain amount of turns, physically turn my body, go to the other side, rewind it a certain amount of times, and let it go. So this all had to be done in one.
Oh, so that's how you saw the backspin.
Oh, yeah.
That's how the technique of flashing became. Oh, man, this is just too technical for me, man. I learned so much, man.
We got to go to the next video.